Welcome to the Solo Edit Podcast, a podcast for estheticians looking for a weekly dose of motivation, inspiration, and honest conversations about life in and out of the treatment room. I'm here today with Amanda from Well Known. She has a beautiful skincare studio. I love that name. How did you come up with that?
It was kind of a combination of things that I really value. If you look at our logo, you'll notice it's two different fonts, even though it's one word together. I really love being a part of well-being as far as like our industry goes. I love the umbrella of that and how much we can explore as estheticians and facilitators of well-being. And I also, behind the scenes, I'm kind of a nerd about skincare things, all of like psychology things. And so I really wanted to start doing more workshops about sharing knowledge. And so I sort of took this idea of well-being and knowledge and put them together. And that's how we became Well Known.
I love that. And then how did you get into aesthetics?
I got my license in 2008. So I'm getting pretty close to that 20-year mark, which just feels really incredible.
That's great.
My first experience or even knowledge that aesthetics was something you could be. I had a roommate move in and she was just this like magical fairy creature who was really kind and let us try all of her products out. She worked for BioElements. I don't know if anyone remembers BioElements, but they really paved the way, in my opinion, for professional aesthetics. And she asked me if I would come in and get a treatment. Here in Kansas City, we had in Overland Park, actually, we had a learning facility where you could go and train. And she asked if I would come in and be a model for some massage techniques that she was practicing. And I did. And I felt so well cared for after that treatment. And that was just her sort of like practicing things that I just started asking all kinds of questions of like, wait, this is something you can do? Like, I could do this. I could help people feel this way. And it just kind of snowballed until I was determined to find a way. It was hard because, I had to find a way to be in school full time. I still had to work to support myself, but I had some people really come through for me and we made sure it happened. And so it took one facial for me to be like, okay, well, I'm doing this now. So that's kind of how I first got into it.
I remember being a little girl, my aunt would take me to the spa, and I distinctly remember getting a treatment and thinking, like, how can I do this as a career? Like, this is what I want to do, is make people feel good.
And I do think naturally some people just like to care for others.
Yeah.
So that was pretty natural extension of myself.
Yeah, I feel the same way. So you've been in the industry almost 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really long time in an industry where the burnout rate is really high. So what are some ways that you found to kind of not necessarily mitigate burnout, but deal with it? Because we all have those seasons in business.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I think I've been in like major burnout twice. COVID really was the test for that. At the time, I was leading a group in my studio of, I think maybe there were a total of 4 or 5 of us. And the pressure of trying to make sure everybody had what they needed to get through that led to a lot of burnout. I think after that, I really decided like, I need to tailor this down to become more manageable. For me, I think what has helped sustain me and keep me interested for this long has been just how broad aesthetics can be. You never really have to stop learning. There's always something new you can add, some new modality, a new technique, a new approach. And I think for me, what has helped me not feel burnt out is one, like right sizing my capacity, really seeing like, what do I want to do and what is my actual capacity? Because I think my plan in the past was just to be successful was to just give 100%. But then there'd be nothing left over at the end of the day for my family or friendships. And I had a lot of drive. So I sustained that for a while, but I definitely hit that wall pretty hard.
There's so much power in that question that you just asked. Like, what do I want to do? Because if you love what you do, it really helps with the ebbs and flows and it keeps you interested and invested. And that is like one of, I think, the secrets to those estheticians that are successful is that they have, pared down their treatments or they've niched and just focus on what really brings them joy.
Yeah. And I think sometimes that can be actually really hard to identify because we really care for our clients. We develop relationships with them, but sometimes some of the things that they want to see us for are no longer our passion, or they're not really the services that are bringing those numbers we need to see.
Right.
And so for me, getting really in touch with like, where am I getting a good return so that I don't have to work more hours than I actually feel like.
Yes.
So that has meant my services over the years have changed. I think when I first set out to be a new esthetician, I wanted to master everything. If an esthetician could do it, I wanted to do it the best.
I think that's how we all were.
And then I found myself doing all sorts of things that I realized, like, I really hope nobody books this. And so, slowly over the years, I have just whittled it down to what I really like. Yeah. And also, I don't know if other people experience this, but experiencing yourself aging as you move through your career, that's also something I think we have to become. I had needed to become really honest about what could I do physically and still have some left over. And it's not the same as when I was 25 and I first started practicing. It's not as many clients in a day. It's also not as many days in a week. I just needed to make sure that I was getting a really good return on those clients that I was seeing so that I could tailor things back a little bit.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's a business, right?
Well, and, I've talked a lot with friends in other industries, especially business-minded people, and they've really helped me see what it is I'm even giving and what is my service. And a lot of people have pointed out, like, what you are selling is your attention. And so if you are burnt out or you're not interested in this, that's going to become a problem. That's your number one thing you're selling.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have needed to really get in touch with what do I enjoy? Like what I've done at the end of the day and I'm driving home. Do I think, man, that was really great. Like I loved that experience. I loved that interaction with that client. And so I feel like I've kind of tailored it down.
Yeah, I love that. One of the reasons why I asked you to be on the podcast is because I know you have a very busy and successful business, but also you love to use modalities in your business. And so I thought it would be interesting to maybe talk about some of those modalities that you enjoy using, that you have seen great results with, and kind of how you pair them with some of the products that you use.
Yeah, I will say I made the switch to predominantly Korean skincare. Maybe that was also about 4 years ago. And at the time I was really focused on sort of like this idea of clean and botanical, which I think when I first approached that, when I opened my own studio about 13, maybe 14 years ago, that meant something different than I think what it eventually became. When I first was pursuing that, it wasn't about fear. It wasn't about trying to sell products based on what they didn't have in them. It was this idea of having something that was really nurturing. But then as I aged and as my clients were aging, I found that I really missed those sophisticated formulas that could deliver results and that people could see change just with their home care. And I think I had been following you for years. I'd really been inspired by all of the change you had made for yourself. And I think I had the skin pin from you. And I thought, I'm going to just start testing some things out. I wasn't sure if my clients would be on board because some of them were the types that if they didn't know an ingredient off the top of their head, that they would be a little suspicious of it. But I thought, you know what? I have a lot of trust built here. And as I explored Korean skincare more, I saw that like this isn't actually like a diverging of values. The way that Korean skincare respects the skin barrier, their innovation, like those all were things that I was really excited about. At this point, I still have a rose water that I love that I give my clients, and I have a facial oil I make, but everything else, is Korean skincare, and my clients have been so happy.
Yeah.
So I was so excited to get that down. That added a lot of services in. Here I do the green sea peel. I do a number of peels that Kin has available. And it's cool because I've been able to make those work into both custom treatments that are timed, but then also standalone shorter treatments, which has been really helpful just to kind of fill in the day.
Is that how your treatments are? They're timed?
Yeah, at this point, we have something called the bespoke. I do a 60 or 80-minute treatment. I know some estheticians love longer treatments, but for me, from a number standpoint, it just felt like if I could actually see one extra person, it just made more sense on my numbers. So I don't do super long ones, but my clients come pretty consistently. So, I'm seeing people every 4 weeks, some every 6, and they're also investing in home care. So those numbers make sense to me. And a lot of them are custom where, each time we're kind of looking at their skin, deciding what do we want to do today. But I do have a few 40-minute treatments at this point that are just standard protocols that we've created. And some clients just love those. Some clients love coming to get what we would call a corrective peel. And then we will choose which one makes sense that day. On our menu, the green CPO we refer to as biomicroneedling. Obviously, that's a standalone treatment by itself. And my clients really like feeling like they have a plan. So I will tell them, this is what I suggest. Twice a year, we're going to do 2 of the green CPOs back to back. And I don't know, I think that builds a lot of trust. They like knowing we have a plan.
They feel like you're invested, right? Like that is so important.
And I am invested. So I think there are a lot of estheticians that are really invested in helping their clients see the change that they want to see and feeling confident. But you'd have to make sure you're communicating that to them.
Right.
They really need to hear that I have things in place for you. And a lot of times they are more than happy to rebook at the time that they're checking out. They will take those recommendations. And maybe even if that day they don't leave with products, I always let them know it's in their notes if somebody doesn't pick things up. And so next time when I see them, I can say, I still recommend this serum for you. And sometimes that's all it took was them seeing like, oh yeah, she's consistent and supportive. And I've loved having the different lines from Kin here. I'm really excited about the new Thesera line. And they have also given me the opportunity to bring in other modalities. One of them being for us, the jet plasma, or it's also known as, some people call it cold plasma or non-thermal plasma. I think for us, calling it jet plasma helps our clients have the proper expectation. When you call something cold, I think they're expecting cold.
Yeah.
And it's really just helping it differentiate that it's not some of the older types of like fibroblast type plasma. I don't even know if in Missouri we actually are able to do fibroblast, but I wanted something that was non-invasive. I didn't have to numb. And so I have loved that modality. I have had to learn what can I combine it with and in what order. But that has been a really cool one. It's really great for people with skin barrier issues. It's great for acne. And it pairs really nicely with a lot of the Korean products.
I honestly have no idea what jet plasma is. Is it a laser?
So it's not a laser. Your machine has a handpiece that emits an electric charge with an ionized gas. It actually creates a plasma stream.
Got it.
And
Okay.
you glide that over the surface of the skin.
Got it. Okay.
It also helps with deep collagen stimulation. It just had this huge umbrella of people that it could serve. And I don't have a huge amount of acne clients. I do have some though that are adults at different stages. Sometimes it's perimenopausal acne. Sometimes it's because of pregnancy. And so I wanted some solutions for them, but really it was for my clients who were aging. And then I honestly was just super surprised by how much it helped my clients with barrier issues, like redness, textural issues, thin barrier. It's really helped them. And then the other modality that we've really focused on here is microcurrents. I'd used microcurrent for maybe the last 3 or 4 years. And then we just recently invested in a NeuroTris microcurrent, which is called dynamic current because it has multiple channels of current. I don't know if anybody has seen, they look like forks. They're kind of huge. And I have followed other spas and such that have it and just kind of been obsessed with it for the last few years. But it was really expensive. And I just, I'd been investing in other things. And then finally, I just was like, okay, we need to have it. Well, I feel like I'm still learning that modality. It has a lot of options and it's really powerful. So I'm excited to start using that. And it also pairs beautifully with everything from Kin.
Nice. Is it a big device or is it?
I'm really limited on space. I love my space, but we do not have room for excess here. Everything has to have a purpose and an intention, especially in my treatment room. My treatment room is actually a vault. Our Kansas City
Like
is
a
really
bank
cool.
vault?
It is actually a film vault where old film was stored. Kansas City is really rich with history, and the area I'm in is called the Crossroads Arts District. We were part of what was called Film Row, so old films were here. And my space has these 2 big fireproof metal doors. They took one off the treatment room, thankfully. Otherwise, I think we'd feel a little claustrophobic.
Yeah.
So I have a few really nice, heavy velvet curtains hung when you come in. But my treatment room is all brick with cement floors, which we've really softened. And it just feels, the sound in there is just perfect. When I saw it, I was like, we need this. Like, sound can be a real issue. And in that room, it's not an issue at all. But we've made that feel like a little cocoon.
Yeah. We're on video right now, and like your retail area is so beautiful. I wish people could see. And then obviously, I follow you on Instagram. Your space is so beautiful. Your website is stunning. I have two questions. First, did you design everything? And then do you have a team?
So yeah, I'll answer both of those. I've designed all our spaces myself. I actually love that. Maybe a couple years ago, I decided I was going to take a full load of interior design classes at a school nearby just to make sure I didn't miss my calling as an interior designer.
Yeah.
And when I was sitting one day in the lab for architectural drafting, it hit me that like I didn't love it enough. And I really need to be one-on-one with people. If I was going to pursue any higher education, it was going to need to be something in psychology. I still love interior design. I love getting to do that at my home and then here at the studio, but that's as much as I need. So that was a funny little detour. But I mean, I was still, running the studio.
Yeah.
We actually were in a space for 12 years in the same building we are now, up on the second floor. That space I designed myself. I literally chose the space. There were no walls. Our building was getting redone. And I essentially chose which windows would be our windows and then built the space out. That was very expensive for me because I think I redid it twice. So I highly recommend not doing that. Really think about what you need your space to grow into if you are doing any kind of build out or design, because man, it gets really expensive. And then sometimes you feel like you have to stay somewhere because you've invested so much in it.
Yeah.
And so then we got the opportunity. I'd been asking and asking and asking for the space we're in now, and finally got the opportunity, and we moved down, and the space came together really quick. And it was just, I feel like sometimes it's just luck. We were able to use some of the pieces from our older space, but I have these huge windows that make plants very happy. And I love the combination of kind of what feels somewhat industrial with the concrete floors and then all of the soft furniture pieces and linens and things that a spa has. So
Yeah.
I don't have a team right now. I would love to find the right team member sometime in this next year. I've had periods of times where I had team members. I was really fortunate. I had a really strong team for many years. I think some of the women had been with me for 4 or 5 years before they felt ready to go out on their own. From a mentorship standpoint, that felt really good. But I also feel like everybody, this was maybe a year or two after COVID, kind of came to that same conclusion around the same time. And I had not been prioritizing clients with me. I had not been thinking about, how would it need to run if everybody were to kind of feel ready to go out on their own. So I kind of had to reinvent myself after that. So I guess if I had to really point out like one of my strengths, I think adaptability is one of those.
That's important.
Well, yeah, there's a book I really love for people, like most of us, I think are pretty small. We're one, maybe 2 to 3 people, but there's a book called A Company of One. And he really talks about the values of doing what you do well and staying small, because so much of our society is driven by growth of, any growth is good. And I feel like you need to really think about what kind of growth you want.
There's another book. I don't know. There's an organization called Small Giants, and they have a conference in Detroit every spring, but they also have a book that's called, I think maybe it's just called Small Giants, and it's all about the importance of being great rather than grand.
Yes.
And I think a lot of estheticians are like, I just want to grow. I want to be bigger. But when you do that, there, obviously there's a lot of benefit to growing, but also it brings on a lot of headaches and a lot of costs and a lot of challenges. And I'm not in the treatment room anymore, but there are days where I yearn for just like a quiet day with one person in the treatment room. I actually just got it licensed so that I can like take clients here and there if I want to, just like help regulate my nervous system a little bit. But yeah, I think that there's nothing wrong with being solo and just wanting to run the business yourself or like not having a team.
Yeah. And I think for me, I realize there are other things I want to do creatively. I do want to get those workshops off the ground. I actually am in the middle of learning hypnosis. I would love to offer that more as like a community skill building thing. But in order to do that, I can't be in the treatment room as much as I am. So that's why I realized like, okay, I actually really do need to find somebody who feels like a good fit. And also, I'm not staying as late as I used to. Every now and then I'll hear from clients who haven't gotten in and they're like, I just can't find anything with you. And I know it's because I'm not here as late. I'm not here as many days. And so I think there are people who want to be here in my space. And so we just need to find somebody who just feels like they could take care of them and then they get to still be a part of things. So yeah, at some point you do have to look at like when we say yes to one thing, sometimes we're also saying no to others. And if I continue to just say yes to seeing one-to-one clients and being the main service provider, it may mean I'm saying no to some of these other things that really do interest me. And so I don't think I want to not be in the treatment room, but I do think I'd like to be able to prioritize the clients who really want to be here every 4 weeks, who are really consistent, and then maybe let somebody else get to care for the other folks who just want to come in occasionally or haven't even been in to see us at all yet.
That's such a good point because I do feel like most estheticians, I would say, are creative. And so it's important that we make space or time to be able to explore other interests like that. Do you think that you will bring hypnosis? Did you say you'll bring it into the treatment room or like have a separate?
I would like to. We have this really gorgeous table. Let me see if I can show you. I know everyone else can't see it on camera, but I bought this big, beautiful table. It's almost like raffia. When we first got the space, and we have this really gorgeous window. I mean, it's huge.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, okay, a table needs to go here and we need to learn things together. So like the space is ready. I just need to get organized behind the scenes and also feel like I can have the energy to just say, okay, like we're doing a community class, and I won't go on a big rabbit trail about hypnosis, but what I have learned so far, I have 6 months of training, so I'm just at the beginning, is that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. And so I'd really like to teach it from that standpoint. If you can learn how to do self-hypnosis, you can apply this for anxiety, for confidence building. You can do it for symptom-based things like changing your relationship to food or quitting smoking. But to me, it's just, I don't know, estheticians create these lovely spaces that people get to come in and be cared for. And I think it's a natural extension to bring in community into those spaces. So I love hearing estheticians that get really creative and partner with other businesses, especially other wellness businesses. I think it makes sense. So yeah, I do hope to bring it in. I'm not sure exactly how it will live here in this space. I also love the Enneagram. So I'd love to teach a couple of classes here on that. There's other opportunities in the community. I have a friend who is an Ayurvedic doctor. I'd really love for people to come learn more about Ayurveda and understand their dosha and how that not only impacts things like their skin, but also some of our daily habits that, I don't know. I feel like estheticians, we care for people all day. These are relationships built over years. For people who are interested in exploring other aspects of care, I just feel like the list is endless.
It sounds like well-known is very much aligned with just like overall wellness and well-being. Not only does it align with the brand, but also is a great way to network and build a community of other business owners who are kind of like-minded. Maybe 2 weeks ago, I interviewed Nikki. She has a spa in Minnesota and she does sound healing. And it was so interesting to learn about sound healing. And I never even thought about hypnosis in the treatment room, but I don't see why you couldn't do that.
My only thing is I'm going to have to keep people from falling asleep because you actually aren't, it's not effective if you're asleep. And a lot of times people are like open mouth snoring on my table. So I do think naturally we can get people to that relaxed state where they're able to get some of the therapeutic benefits. We've had somebody come and do sound healing for some of our clients and they really enjoyed it.
Nice. Yeah, I've never experienced that, but I'm sold and I definitely want to go visit and be a client of hers for that benefit. I was going to say I did hypnosis when I was 18. I think it was like maybe 45 minutes or an hour, but it felt like my eyes were closed for 5 minutes. It was the strangest thing to like come out of it and then see that much time had passed because you're like conscious and you're like nothing's happening like this. Your subconscious is saying like nothing is really happening. Like you're just sitting here and you're thinking about other things and how it's not working. But then when you see how much time has passed, you're like, oh my gosh, like something happened. I don't know what, but something happened.
Yeah. And I think what you're describing is that trance state. And I think it's the same thing that happens in treatment with clients where they're in such a relaxed state and their nervous system is dialed down and they're enjoying the care you're giving them. And then you let them know their hour or more is up and they're like, how can that be? It's only been 15 minutes. And then they look at the clock and sure enough, it's been 75 minutes. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'm not exactly sure how that will fit in. And sometimes I just get these kind of wild hairs and then want to, follow them down and see what they result in. But yeah, if I can bring that to the community as a skill they can build to nurture themselves, I would love that.
Awesome. Well, before I let you go, I always like to ask, what is one thing, or maybe you have a couple words of wisdom for estheticians who might be struggling building their books or just not feeling the industry at the moment? Do you have any advice that you could give?
Yeah, I think things are a little different than when I got started. We didn't have social media to build with. So I think that's an incredible tool. And if people feel like they're not building their books, I do think it's good to evaluate. I feel like girls really rush to be solo right away. And for some people that works. For me, I had a short list of places. I think I had 3 places that I wanted to work, that I was interested in the Kansas City area. And I worked each one of those 3 places. And then I was like, okay, it's time. And I went out on my own after that. So don't be afraid to collaborate and work under others, because I really do think you get a lot of value out of that. Find a mentor. If you have somebody who's willing to help grow you, I really hope people value that. I had a mentor who I felt was a huge part of me learning to be successful on my own. And I will forever be grateful to her. When you find those people who are willing to come in and support you and help grow you, stick with them for a minute, really figure out what are your strengths, what do you need to work on, and be willing to take feedback from clients and from, the people you work with. And then what was the second question you asked?
For those who are struggling or just maybe facing burnout.
Yeah, if you're facing burnout, I think it's really important. Get in touch with, what do I love about this? Have I lost sight of that? Am I doing too much? Is it that I'm doing too much of the wrong service? Or learn something new? Like for me, that really helps spark creativity and expansion, is to look at things from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And there's just so much out there. There's so many things you can learn. There's things online now. You can do things in person if you prefer that. But one of the things I'm really hoping to come do to also just spark a sense of connection to my aesthetics community is to come do an in-person class with you. So, that's on my list. But yeah, I think there is a lot of power in slowing down and reflecting on, where am I at all of this? What do I really need and what I really want?
Yeah. One of the things I did when I had my studio and was facing one of the worst burnouts that I had really felt is I made a list of everything that I really did not like about my business, which was I hated doing lashes. And then I hated laundry. It was like I couldn't even keep up with laundry at home for my husband and son and myself. Like it was just like an unnecessary stress. So I made this long list of all the things that like brought stress or I didn't find joy in. And then I took each of those and I figured out a way to remove them from my plate. Yeah. And that brought so much relief. And like I found more joy. I had more time to do things that I enjoyed. And then also to your point about changing perspective, you have hard days, you have hard clients. It's hard running a business, but then think about all the things that it allows you to do. If you're a mom, I was able to create my own schedule to pick up my son. I was able to be creative every single day. No day was the same. Like I thrive in that sort of environment. And so I think, like you said, like changing your perspective is also equally as important. But I really appreciate you meeting with me today.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so fun.
Yeah, I need to also make a trip because I really want to see your space in person. I have messaged you on Instagram multiple times throughout the years, I think, just saying like, your space is so pretty, because it really is. I'm obsessed. So
Kansas City is a lot of fun. And so, yeah, anytime you want to come visit, just let me know and we'll make some time.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sarah.